for the fury of those who are oppressed.
Oppressed People's Nation. I'm only here for the people.
How y'all doing? I want to welcome you all to Oppressed People Nation Night, where we'll be hearing about the youth, seeing what's on the youth mind. We're gonna be having different events every Tuesday here. I knew the first one was just gonna be a few people, because that's how it is. But it's gonna grow and grow. I wanna acknowledge a few people here. I wanna acknowledge Miss Natalie Fitton and her family. Sister Judy Martin, who worked so hard on looking for missing people. And vigils. Unfortunately, it's like she have a vigil every day in the city of Cleveland. Unfortunately.
She helped my family. Right.
Brother Barbarino, who worked so hard with the Black on Black Crime Inc. Brother Al Porter, the Vice President of Black on Black Crime Inc. and the Chairman of the Hip Hop Workshop, who has helped so many young people out here pursue their dream of hip hop and also get knowledge about where hip hop come from, about what activists do in the community. I also want to introduce a couple of my young people. They grown, but they still are youth, are young people. One of my day one soldiers, my general, my head of security, Brother John Gilmore. Somebody in the here to see, he called me Uncle. He here to see what his uncle talking about, what I've been talking to him about for 2 years now. It takes time. Sometimes you got to crawl before you walk. He ready to get up off his knees and start walking with the people. You could just call him Cat. Up here in the front is a young man that's up here in the front for a reason. That's my deputy chairman of Oppressed People's Nation.
Woo!
John Wilson don't have it. John Wilson just came home from a 15-month vacation. He'll tell you more about that, but come from running the streets, being brainwashed and tricked. He's a leader, but he realized that he was leading in the wrong direction. Now he's ready to lead in the right direction. So he'll be here every Tuesday. He'll be telling you and bringing in people to tell you what's on the youth mind. He'll be bringing in people to tell you what the youth say and think that they need to survive in the community, because it's all about surviving. They out here trying to survive. Most of them are down. They not out there selling drugs and doing what they doing because it's cute, because they want to. You got families in the home with no fathers. Family in the home, you might got a beautiful mother, but she got to work a job, a long job, or 2 or 3 jobs, and it might be 2 or 3 kids at the house. So there's nobody to watch the kids, so therefore the streets become the fathers. It be like that. The Oppressed People Nation is a different kind of organization. We understand that the power structure put the drugs in the neighborhood. We understand that there's not a such thing as gangs. Them are human beings that need help. We call them unpoliticized street tribes. There's not a war on drugs or a war on terror. There's a war against our people. War against our people. It's a setup for us to have this Willie Lynch mentality. Because if you're not taught to love yourself, how can you love anyone else? And that goes back to, we don't get taught our full true history in the schools. First of all, let me give you a little history on the Oppressed People Nation. We were founded October 15th of 2008. Our first mission, it was 4 of us. Went in front of East Cleveland City Hall and had a protest. My friends calling me, I'm calling them, trying to get them to come. They scared. Can't blame them. They don't know. We don't have any political training where we from. So they don't know what's legal to do at a police station, what's not legal to do. Only thing they know, when you see police, you either finna get down or get hurt. We did the protest, to make a long story short, while the police was out here. It was on videotape, and I posted it up. And that just shows that if you show by doing, we call it observation and participation. People learn by doing. They observe you, they watch, and then they'll want to do, because you can talk them to death all day. So when we found the OPN, we hopped right in the ocean. Therefore, the older activists who've been out here for 30 years recognize, hold on, these young people, they not playing. The next time we did a protest in front of East Cleveland, it was like 12 of us. It was 10 degrees outside. 10 degrees. And we went outside and we protested and we marched up and down East Cleveland. And I grew up around here. So it's people that I used to run the streets with, they coming outside. Oh, what you doing? I said, I'm protesting this police brutality. East Cleveland police had just put a young man in the hospital on his birthday. So we protested, and I went out here block to block, and I told all my friends that we have a voice that we can use. Whether you know it or not, whether you know it and you're scared to use it, it's time to use our voice. We keep dying every day because we killing each other. Because we brainwashed and tricked. We programmed to kill each other. Willie Lynch said a long time ago to his fellow slave owners, that I got a long-range plan to keep these black people and oppressed people enslaved. This organization is not about black or white. As you can see, I have European comrades. We understand it's a class. We understand it's a class war.
Right.
It's a class war. It's the upper class against the lower class, but the lower class too busy fighting each other, trying to dominate each other. If the lower class come together, we can flip this around. Put the last first and the first last. We fight for the basic rights of human rights of our people. We come with a 10-point program that basically says we will not be, we know that we're not truly free until we get land, bread, housing, true education, clothing, justice, and peace. Now, how do you do these things? Do you have meetings and talk about it? Do you just have rallies? No. You go home and look at our videos, and you can see that we out here with the people. We have what we call people survival programs. We get out here, and we know it's homeless shelters and all that. But what people don't know is a lot of people get left out of them shelters. A lot of people, you get kicked out at a certain time. The food make you sick. How do I know this? Because we went out when we first started on the streets and interviewed homeless people, and we understand that they're human beings. We don't believe in crackheads. Them are human beings. The homeless people, we found out they're not homeless because they want to be homeless. They had jobs and all this. What we have to do, we have to understand our history about when it was factories and all that, and the factories closed, and the power structure made it for black people to live in a certain part of the community. And when as they moved in, the white people moved out and confined us to a certain part of the community. Then they put drugs in the neighborhood. It was gangs in the 50s and the 60s, but they were just like little street clubs. Then you had the movement of the 60s. Along came the Black Panther Party for self-defense, SNCC, groups like that. So what these pigs in the power structure did, they sent in people to neutralize and destroy our movements. I tell my youngsters, it was the thing to do in the 60s, in the 50s and the 60s. It's been a thing to do for 400 years to fight for our rights. But now we so brainwashed because of the Willie, I call it the Willie Lynch mentality. They put the drugs in the neighborhood, therefore. See, the Crips started off as a community organization. We don't be knowing all this. What the government did, they sent in infiltrators, informers, and they changed all the young movements to so-called gangs. The older people, what they did, they chopped the head off the movement. They killed all our leaders. A lot of leaders we haven't heard about. Fred Hampton. We heard a little bit about Martin and Malcolm, a little bit about Rose. But if you go look in the school book,
Who you gonna find?
who you go find? And you only go find maybe a paragraph.
Is it that much?
Yeah, right. 2 lines. If they tell you about, if they show you about Huey P. Newton, they have a picture in there. Only thing it'll say is he killed the Oakland. He was charged with killing the Oakland police officer. They don't tell you nothing, no history. They won't tell you Martin Luther King was a political prisoner. Martin Luther King stood up against the war in Vietnam. They don't tell us all our true history.
Angela.
So therefore, once again, if you're not taught to love yourself, you're not gonna love anyone else out there. It was planned by the power structure, the same power structure that's supposed to look out for us. The same power structure that's supposed to look out for us. I had one of my older brothers call me. I used to run the streets with. Called me this morning and said, I led y'all in the wrong direction. He just came home from doing 15 years in the Fed. Well, I say, it's not too late. And the whole time he was in jail, the whole 2.5 years, we've been saying, I wonder if we could get him on it when he get out. Well, he on it. He on house arrest right now, and his whole focus is on helping the people. So I said that to say you can do things, you can mess up, but it's never too late to give back. I used to tear these streets up. Worked at a school when I was 22 years old. My students didn't even know what I was leaving the workplace and doing. Still running the streets. So I just happened to have a job. But as I started being with them kids more and more, I started understanding more and more things. Them kids come to school hungry. The parents could drop them off. They still be hungry. It's not always the parents' fault. I started to understand that the educational system is not like it's supposed to be. We got kids that go to school that had gym on the computer. How can you learn? How can you get physical on the computer? How can you unleash all that energy when you had gym on the computer? When I worked at a school named Greater Heights, here are 3 of my students right here. Greater Heights Academy.
Greater Heights.
Greater Heights Academy.
Okay.
They didn't have art, gym, music, health. They finally built half a little gym room. Barely would let the kids in there. No extracurricular activities, no field trip, no graduation ceremony. It was all about the money with that school. I was an employee there. When we first made Oppressed People Nation, the first day of school was coming up. I didn't go to work. I took a sign, and I keep pictures and all that because I like to show people I ain't just talking mess. My first day of work, I took a sign, and I went to my job, and I protested the school. Because these new age parents wasn't doing their job. So I started talking to the grandmothers. And the grandmothers started calling up to the school board, and they started investigating. And to make a long story short, the school shut down now. They have the thing in the lunch, no lunch rooms, so that means they had to pass the food from floor to floor, which is unsanitary. Eating in the classrooms, the thing that's supposed to wash the dishes was broke. We all know they're supposed to be a certain amount of degrees to make sure the plates and the dishes are clean. They don't do that. So it was just a messed up situation. So I had to make a choice, and I made the choice to ride with the people, and I'm glad I did, because my position is with the people, and that's where we gonna stay.